One of my new theories or observations, I guess, is that as people in this world, when we interact with the other people, specifically folks in our life that we know, at least to some level, it's not their physical self that we are seeing. And the same is true in reverse. When your people in your life look at you, it is not you physically that they are seeing, but rather your soul or your spirit. And specifically, I say the people you know, because when you first encounter someone, whether you're just passing them on the street or you're actually shaking their hand, you start to size them up. Consciously or not, you start to make note. How tall is this person? Are they attractive? Are they thin? Are they fat? Are they muscular? And just based off those observations, you fill in the blanks and decide for yourself right then who you think they are. You make an assumption. I think it's something about the human brain and the fear of not knowing that makes us need to immediately invent for ourselves and decide who this person we're talking to is, definitely. However, if you're lucky enough to get to know the person, in a lot of cases you become surprised by how wrong you were. And I guess it sounds like I'm just going into a don't judge a book by its cover lecture, but I promise it's not that. In fact, the takeaway I'm getting to is not a change in the way that you see other people, but how you perceive yourself. So let me get there. There's this heavy emphasis right now on the whole idea of looksmaxxing and just basically accepting this like dark reality that the world is cruel to people that are not attractive. And I heard one of the big heads on that side of the internet talking about how there's studies that really support this, how in job interviews and how much money people make, there's a positive correlation to being more good looking. And I really can't argue with that. I think in those situations that actually makes sense for the reasons that I just stated. When you first meet someone, like in a job interview, you are going to base your initial impression of them on their physical appearance. What I disagree with is the idea that then you have to center your whole life around mastering your appearance, because in any of the meaningful relationships that you form, those people no longer see your physical self anyways. They just start to see you. So to stress over and really obsess over how you look would only just be a waste of energy. Let me give an example. I work with a guy who's just like 2 or 3 years older than me, but he's a lot taller, a burly dude, got a full, thick mustache. He could have a full beard if he wanted to, and he just looks like a big, tough dude. And when I first started working with him, that's who I assumed he was, and I was not intimidated, but, I was sizing him up in that way. I was pretty certain of myself just based off his appearance that he was a tough guy. And beyond that, I was pretty certain of myself that I couldn't be friends with him for that reason. I was like, this ain't the type of dude I really vibe with. Turned out that was a really dumb assumption to make, because not only is he a cool dude, he's such a gentle giant. The more I talked to him, I realized not only is he not some tough guy who doesn't want to, who can't talk about anything but bro stuff, he's actually quite the opposite. Like he's a little anxious about making sure that everyone thinks well of him. Like he's a sweet guy. He wants to, he really tries to make sure all the coworkers have a good opinion of him. And I think he's a little anxious about that. And I love him. He's one of my favorite people to work with now. But just, it's funny for me to see such a big, burly, almost not scary, but scary looking dude. That was my first impression of him. To now look at him and say, dang, he's actually more nervous than I am about some of this social stuff. I don't know, that just kind of blows my mind. And it's funny because now when I look at him, it's the same physical guy. He's still just as big and, tough looking as he was when I first saw him, but I don't even see that now. Now I look at him and I see this gentle, friendly, kind of nervous dude, and it really interests me. I'm fascinated by this because it makes me wonder if this is how I see other people as they are, not as they look. How do people see me? This is important to me because I myself am a very small guy physically. I'm only 5'3", and yet obviously I have a lot of big ideas, and I've always been that way, and I've always been a loudmouth, and I've always been bigger than my body. And I've always been conscious of the fact that I'm short, because elementary school and throughout all school, really. People, say little things. I never was bullied or nothing, but I was always aware of it, but it never bothered me. Only recently did the thought cross my mind, a strange and pretty terrible thought, which was, am I allowed to act this big if I'm only this small physically? Like, am I making a fool of myself by acting bigger than I am really allowed to? Basically, am I confined to only be as big spiritually as I am physically? Well, after making these observations about the way I perceive other people, I'm pretty confident to say that the answer is no. While I'll never be able to see myself through anyone else's eyes, I'm pretty sure that when they see me, the people that really know me, they're not seeing this, they're seeing what's in here. A couple months ago, I was in class with my best buddy, and we were signing up on something on our laptops for accounts for something for class. When you made an account, it had you pick a little avatar for yourself, and they were all dogs for some reason. And I was looking at these different dogs, and I definitely feel spiritually like a pit bull or something. But I was looking at them, and I picked the Chihuahua. I thought it'd be kind of funny. They're little, but they're feisty, right? And my best buddy looks over at my screen, and he was like, "Man, I don't know. You ain't the Chihuahua. I don't see you as that." And it's just stupid. I don't even remember what the account was. It wasn't important. But that was relieving, and it was one of the first insights to maybe how other people see me. Especially my best friend who knows me, hopefully, better than 99% of people. He don't see me as a Chihuahua. He sees me as I don't know, a pit bull maybe. And I think we could all walk a little more at ease, knowing that people are not seeing us for what we have physically. It's nice to know that we are being seen as we are, at least by the people that take the 20 minutes to talk to us. And this is especially relieving considering this idea that's so popular online right now, that you have to perfect your outward image. It's tempting. It's very tempting because we're all insecure about our physical self. But it's such a waste of time. Because no matter how good you look, you can't change who you are. Who you really are. Looking better might help you in that job interview. It might help you talk to that girl for the first 30 seconds. But once you get that job, once you get that girl, it's gonna come out, man. The world's gonna see you as you. You gotta be ready for that. And I myself, I love to work out. I love to look good, and I love to feel good. I love to dress how I want and express myself through style and be in an outfit that I feel more confident in. But that's all supplementary to being comfortable with the you that you can't control. You got to get comfortable with that, or else it's a shaky road. Bottom line, don't stress too much over how you look. Find confidence in the fact that you will be understood by the people that matter most.